Yeah, yeah. Lanier presents. Lanier presents. Lanier presents. Lanier presents. Yeah, Lanier presents. Lanier presents. Lanier presents. Let's go!
All right, how's everybody doing out there? This is the second episode of Lanier Presents, featuring none other than my good friend Chris Moses. Chris,
What's
tell the
up?
people how you doing.
Living, guys, thanks for having me on.
Hey, man, thanks for being on, man, and thank
Absolutely.
you out there for watching. And if you're seeing this right now, yes, I'm wearing a customized B-Sides face mask. You got to protect yourself. This thing isn't over just yet, folks, all right? So, get you a mask, preferably at my online store. I'll have all the deets in a later video. For now, I'll take it off so you can hear my beautiful voice, but, just look at that. And now we're going to put that away. So, anyways, today me and Chris are going to talk about, we get a lot of questions here and there from a lot of folks out there about, how do we get in the industry, writing techniques, maybe budgeting and, that good kind of stuff. So we're going to talk to you guys for a bit and let you know our take on things. So I figure we should start with you, Chris. Like, what are your things on how to get into the industry? What are things you would say?
All right, so first things first, absolutely, you definitely need to have a story. I think an idea is probably the very first thing you need to even think about getting into the industry, other than, a want and a love for comic books.
Yep.
But yeah, definitely an idea that you've hopefully already turned into a script. For either yourself as an artist to have something ready to go off and work off of, or as a writer to actually, get the process started, because no one's going to start off of your idea. You should be ready to, hit the ground running with, your work.
Pretty much. Let's say you have like a smidgen of a concept or whatnot, and you haven't fully developed it. You show it to somebody, and then they morph it and they change it into what they like and whatnot, and then it doesn't become yours anymore. So definitely have like a fully formed idea of the story that you want to tell, the kind of genre that it's in. For me personally, I always start with the characters. I feel that comics and literature and a lot of our medium are very character driven. People love to root for a character or the person. When you have a favorite sports team, there's that star player. Like, oh, I love that guy. You know what I'm saying? And you can go across the spectrum of the entertainment that we all consume, and there's always that one standout person in any field, whether it be real or fake. So start with the characters, in my opinion. Think of a really interesting character. Think of like their abilities, their quirks, their wants, their desires. um, that's what I do, and then I kind of create a story around them. Like I try to create the story that best suits their strengths, their weaknesses, the other cast that they might interact with. That's what I like to do first and foremost, because the characters are the most iconic part in this medium for sure. And you don't have to look around too far to actually notice that. So start with the characters, in my opinion.
I think that's definitely great advice. Absolutely, characters are the driving. That's definitely the market, right? That's what you're marketing when you have a comic book. As when it comes to actually writing, personally, I like to start with like a concept or some sort of idea that's sort of like floating around in my head, or maybe even a genre, and then start to build from there. But either way, if you start with characters, or if you start with an idea, or if you start somewhere completely different, I think as long as you have written it and have like gotten it, like have an idea and have brought it to the best place that you can before you need to get other people involved in getting that vision created. Um, as long as you're writing, honestly, that's the biggest point. As long as you're
Yeah.
writing and you're finishing what you're writing.
Yeah. Personally, for me, I started writing when I was really young, I would write little love poems and stuff to girls in my classrooms and shit like that. And then they would like how it sounded. So then I was like, oh yeah, I'm really good with words. So then I would write music and raps, and if you know me, you know my music background. But yeah, I always wrote a lot of things, whether it be music form or just like little short stories here and there, or movie scripts or things like that. You gotta write like every single day. Just work on your craft, because it helps you with pacing, it helps you with dialogue, it helps you with setting the tone, the atmosphere. For me, I like to write really simple. I don't really add too many descriptive things like, oh yeah, and this lighting is this, that, and the third. I just write it really simple so the artist can interpret it, in like the basics, the essentials of the story, personally, so it isn't bogged down. And then I like to draw the layouts myself. Like, even if you're not the best drawer, if you can do like little stick figures and stuff, just so they can understand the angles and like the all that good shit, then you should do that too. It really helps out, and it helps you visualize your comic a lot better.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, yeah, all of those things. I know Lanier likes to get it really close to his product. So I know I've seen like the storyboards that he draws and sends to artists. Um, I don't personally do the same thing, but I think, as long as you're getting your idea across, you know, that's all that matters, right? So if you need to draw it yourself, or if you need to, attach a bunch of reference images, or if you like to be super descriptive with your actual words, as long as you can, be able to accurately take what's in your head, put it on paper, and the artist or whoever you're working with is able to understand that, and then, output what you want from it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And get into the next point, the artists themselves. So if you feel like you know your story from top to bottom, and you know how you want it to get visualized, then definitely save some money. I can't stress that enough. Save money to get you an artist, to get you somebody who's going to put the work in to make it pop, to make your story sell. The story is what keeps people reading it, but the art is what gets people to buy it. You know, as simple as that. It's just like when Coca-Cola has marketing. You know what I'm saying? You look at the image first, and it makes you want to buy it. It's the contents of the can is what makes you keep drinking it, and that's what you should envision the story being. We are the contents that's wrapped around this beautiful packaging that's the art. So definitely save some money for the artist. Try to find some people, reach out to people, network, build a rapport. Those are so important in this industry and in life in general. You gotta step out there. You gotta present yourself in a professional manner. I know myself and Chris, we've worked with countless artists. Yeah, so Chris, tell them about your process of finding artists and whatnot.
Yeah. So before getting to that point, I would like to just expand a little further on the saving money. Like,
Okay.
definitely budgeting is a huge part of this, because you shouldn't really, as a writer trying to get into indie comics, you shouldn't see yourself as just a writer. And a lot of different roles in comic books, people aren't just one thing. A lot of artists do pencils and inks. A lot of colorists will also can be able to do pencils, or a lot of letterers are writers, etc., etc. So you definitely need to start first off, like, think of yourself as not just as a writer, but as a producer, a team manager, because you're going to have a team, and then also as an investor, because you're investing in yourself and in this project.
Yeah.
So you definitely need to set up a budget, and you're going to need a few different members of your team. You're going to need somebody that does the pencil inks, maybe somebody that does pencils, maybe that's somebody that does inks. It depends on, how much you want to spend on each, and the time periods, like the time frame. The more people that you have, I'd say, on your team, the faster something will go. But obviously, the more money it could cost, or it could cost less. There's a lot of negotiating that goes on in something like this. But yeah, you need pencils, inks. You'll need somebody to do colors, which could also be broken up into multiple jobs, or it could be one person. And then you're
Yeah,
going to need a letter as
you
well.
decided to do it black and white. You can do it black and white too.
That's true.
If that fits your story or whatnot, and black comics are just as good.
Or absolutely. I mean, Give Me the Loot is in black and white, and I mean, I started off thinking about doing the Saturn effect in black and white as well.
Yeah,
I think it's all about your vision, though, which goes back to the previous point of like have an idea, have a clear vision. If you want it in black and white, absolutely manga or just like total black and white, that's totally fine. That's great. Or you can have it in color, whichever one you prefer. But definitely having a budget because you're going to need a team to help you out because you're not going to be able to do everything.
No, you're not gonna be able to do everything, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't aspire to try to do everything. Because, like
Absolutely.
Chris said, and I'm just going to expand on that. These days you have to have your hands in everything. You gotta be that promoter, the publisher, the fucking marketer. Like he said, the team manager. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into this. You have to be able to know how to coordinate things. Me personally, I work on countless projects all at one time, and like I have to speak to certain different artists and other different people all the time. You know what I'm saying? You gotta have to learn how to work. Build a schedule around like your work. You gotta build your brand, your name. Yeah, man, you just gotta get social media too. Like if you don't have social media, then I just especially right now during this pandemic, you got to have social media. You got to have an online presence. Even if, it doesn't do too much for you, it seems at first when you do cons and stuff, there's going to be some people that are going to notice you, or, you can still just reference your social media that way or whatnot. But, yeah, you got to put yourself in the dirt,
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah, you gotta get ready to to grind. Social media is definitely a grind. Instagram is a grind. Twitter is a grind. Facebook is a grind. I mean, Reddit's a grind. All of it takes a lot of time to actually put in, and a lot of patience, and a lot of networking. Like Lanier was saying, you have to be able to talk to people, and that's like your fans, potential fans, but also people that you might work with in the future. And that's sort of branching off into the other point that I had put on pause, which was how to find an artist. And one of those ways is through your social media, right? Sometimes someone may reach out to you because they enjoy something that you've been putting out, and they'd like to work on your story as well, or one of your stories. So definitely getting your name out there is one way to start to network and get that artist that also may be very talented and enjoys your work and will be able to find some way to make your budget work with their workload and things like that. So that's just one way that you can get an artist. You can also find them. I know Lanier looks on places like Fiverr. I found plenty of artists on Reddit like r/comic book collabs. You can look through DeviantArt.
I use Upwork.com.
Upwork. Sorry,
that's
yeah.
The perfect place. Yeah, that's the sole place that I use to find like freelancing, artists and stuff like that. Probably one of the most professional ones. I found people on Instagram too, Twitter. Just look wherever.
Yeah, but be ready to spend some money, but also be ready to negotiate. I mean, this is also making comics is also a lesson in starting your own small business and being a businessman. So I mean, you want to pay an artist fairly, but you also want to pay a fair amount, an amount that you can afford. So make sure that you're not just immediately taking the first deal that someone offers you or puts out there, but also don't lowball because an artist is putting in a significant amount of work, and it's hard to really equate the two. Even if you're doing all of those things that we mentioned previously by being a writer, the actual physical labor of drawing is significantly more time consuming than what you're going to have to be doing. So you have to keep that in mind as well when you're negotiating.
And be upfront about if the work that they're making is going to be a work for hire, or if you guys want to share the rights on that kind of stuff. Because it can get really messy if you're not upfront about that. If you don't know what work for hire is or anything like that, I would say look into it. We don't have the time here to go through it or anything like that. But
Not legal
essentially,
advice.
if you keep the rights to the work that they're producing for you, you're paying them to produce your work, then you'll want to keep the rights for your work. So that's a work for hire essentially. Yeah, so definitely keep that in mind. I feel like that's something that a lot of people don't really say. But yeah, definitely have that on the table if that's what you want.
Yeah, definitely something to keep in mind is, just looking forward thinking about these sort of things. Um, Obviously not legal advice, but definitely do some research into copyrights and how those things work and who owns what rights from
Yeah, get a
after a
copy.
project or during a project, and definitely just research and educate yourselves before continuing on. It's not something to be absolutely stressed 100% on. I know a lot of people will even go as far as like NDAs and things like that. You can do that. Not to say that they're necessarily necessary, because I mean, there's a lot of ideas out there, and I think it might also be healthy for, as a writer's ego, to remember that ideas are a dime a dozen, and someone's probably thought of your idea before, probably hundreds of years ago, multiple times. So just like stay humble, but also stay smart and like protect yourself for the future as well.
There you go. And hey, a lot of people have done these ideas. I mean, me and Chris, we do sci-fi.
Yeah,
Tons of people do the same shit that we do, but just have the confidence
really
that
close.
the way you write it is unique to yourself, and that's just that's just how it is, man. It's just gonna happen like that. But the next point, I know a lot of people they're wondering like how to do cons and how to set up and things like that. I've done a lot of book signings myself. I haven't done a con yet, but I can tell you guys this. You're gonna want to have some prints of your material if you have it figured out then and there. I would say bring some business cards, maybe T-shirts if you can afford that. If you can't afford that right now, I totally understand because T-shirts, I mean, them motherfuckers cost a lot. I mean, which is funny segue though, because Chris does have a T-shirt on right
I
now of his
do, I do have the Saturn Effect T-shirt that
shit.
we made, from back when Jacopo was drawing the first issue. It was
Mhm.
designed by my friend Ilya Timofeyev. We were, college roommates. And yeah, so yeah, keep going. But yeah, thanks for pointing out the merch. Merch is
Yeah,
important for branding.
yeah. Even face masks. You know what I'm saying? Even
Oh,
those, all that good stuff, man. Posters, whatever you can afford to get, buttons, um, all that. Stickers, get as much as you can. Make sure you get a nice little table. Get like one of those displays. Yeah, and just be ready to, like, as we've just been continuously saying today, just be ready to network and talk to people. I feel if you're an introverted person but you want to get into comics, then you have to come out of your shell a bit more. You have to do something. You got to talk to the people. Wouldn't you agree, Chris?
absolutely. I think that's just maybe even more of a life thing. You definitely need to be able to talk to people and hold conversations, but also be friendly and have people like you.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, so definitely try and venture. But also, I think there's a lot of people in this sort of sphere that are in the same boat of being sort of insecure or maybe just sort of shy or introverted. And I mean, that's a common ground for a lot of people there, and it's okay to feel those types of ways and know that other people might be feeling that too. But like, we're all cool and we all want what's best for each other. We're all doing this, kind of crazy thing of just making stories and putting them out there for other people to enjoy. So
Right.
don't just come out. It's okay to come out of your shell because other people are in their shells and they want to come out too.
Right. And I feel like another important thing is to talk about is criticism. So like Chris, I will start with you. How do you take criticism of your work? Do you take it personally? Like, does it help you improve your writing? Like, how do you take criticism? Because I feel like that's something a lot of upcoming artists, like, it's like a make or break. Like, oh man, they said I suck, so
Mm.
I'm just done now. You know, that kind of stuff.
So that's definitely a tough question, I'd say. I mean, when it comes to criticism, I think the best way, first off, to get, be okay with criticism is to first of all be your worst critic. So if you are your own worst critic, then no one could really make you feel too bad about, about your work, because you already know the things that need to be improved, that could be better, and that you're going to strive for to be better on the next one.
Hmm.
Um, go, branching out to more generally other people's criticisms. I think, just take criticisms for what they are, right? So, I mean, everyone has their own opinions. Not everyone's opinions are your opinions, and not everyone's opinions are good opinions. So, you have to be okay with, hearing some things that you might not want to hear, because sometimes they're right, but, sometimes they're also wrong. Sometimes there might be a little bit right, sometimes, etc. I think one way to think about it is that as a creator, right, you're sort of the doctor, and the audience is the patient. And so a patient can sort of tell you their symptoms, right? They can tell you the symptoms of, like, how this piece is making me feel, and I don't like this, and it's making my stomach hurt, right? Would be, whatever. Um, and the doctor has to, like, sort of take that information, knowing that the patient isn't a doctor, the patient is a patient, but they're feeling something, and you have to take that information and sort of just find out your own way. You have to find out a diagnosis for that, right? So I would think about criticism that way, right? People giving you criticism are patients. You are a doctor. You know more probably than them about this one thing, but that doesn't mean they're necessarily wrong, and they could point you in the right direction for how to make something better. And sometimes people, it's all in their head, right? Sometimes patients, it's all psychosomatic. There's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with the piece. And sometimes you need to be able to see that and being able to, let that sort of opinion, like, run off you, because it doesn't really matter too much. But at the same time, sometimes they're right. So that's how I would say. So you have to, have a level head, approach it, try to approach it objectively. Don't take anything too personally. And yeah.
And even to simplify that, your first few works, people are probably gonna shit on them, or
Yeah,
they're gonna
I mean,
say
for
it's
sure.
better, this, that, and the third, and that's just the learning curve. Michael Jordan didn't get to be Michael Jordan when the first time he stepped on the court. You know what I'm saying? Picasso didn't learn how to do this cubism until he was like in his 30s or some shit like that. But yeah, it's all just a learning curve, and the first few attempts that you get yourself out there, it's gonna be it's gonna feel like an uphill battle. But as you keep going and improving, you're gonna start to perfect your craft, and you're gonna do your thing. So definitely keep that in mind. You're not gonna be critically acclaimed the first time you come out. You won't make an Akira. You're not
Mm-hmm.
gonna make
Mm-hmm.
him, X-Men or anything like that.
Yeah,
Just do you and do what works for you. Everything's a learning curve. Everything's a grind. So just keep writing, and yeah, and the most important thing is just have confidence in yourself. You
that's
know,
true. Definitely have
that's
confidence. But also
yeah.
there's I mean, you might be one of those people that, just talking about criticism a little bit more, like, some people don't get, sometimes you live in a bubble and you don't get the criticism that you need too. So sometimes, you got to think about it that way as well.
Yeah, there's good and bad criticism. You know, it's gonna come at you both ways. When I was starting off, I didn't have too many critiques myself, but like it's just little stuff that I knew that I can improve on. Like, oh, I could have did this better, or I could do this better. I'm surprised nobody's picked up on that. Just always keep stuff to yourself too, because at the end of the day, you're the one that's writing it. You're the one putting your time and your effort into it. So, don't try to be too bogged down by outside thoughts and opinions, but also take in some of the ones that you feel like you agreed to. Like, okay, yeah, I agree with that. Like, I could have did that better, or I could have did this better. Yeah, that good kind of stuff, man. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. I feel like we touched a lot of good points here.
Definitely did.
I'm not too. Yeah, I'm not too sure what else people might be having a question about.
I mean, maybe more of the process. I mean, I think that could, vary depending on whatever artist you actually end up working with. Whether you do a panel breakdown for your script, or if they decide to, be the more of the storyboard camera director of it. But otherwise, I think we can, sort of touch.
Yeah, I feel like we covered a lot. I mean, even with what Chris is saying right there, the process, I mean, that's just something, even we can explain it as much as we want, but that's something you have to find for yourself as you're going through it, you're going through the motions. When you're talking to the artist, you're going to develop your own way of doing something. The way that me and Chris do it, 1,000 other people do it a whole 1,000 different ways. So, that's just something you have to figure out when you think you found the right partner to help you tell your story. So, as long as you're doing the writing, I mean, that's your part of the process. I mean, that's a big part of the process right then and there. How you go about talking to it with the artist, it can be as flexible as you want. So, not to make it seem like there's these strict rules like, no, you got to do it this way, 30 minutes is, like, you ain't got to do all that shit, man.
What?
Keeping it simple, folks. But yeah, man. All right. Yeah, like I said, keeping these episodes like nice, short, and sweet. Concise for the folks out there. If you guys have any questions, feel free to hit up Chris or myself. We're always on social media all the time. Chris recently released the new episode of the Saturn Effect number 3, and
yes,
I heard that's got the streets on fire. They definitely want to know about that alpha. You know what I'm saying? That's coming out soon.
Coming out soon. Francesco Mazzoli and my man Marco D'Alessandro. They're both working hard, cranking out those pages. And then we also have TSE Helena by my man Barack, chilling out in Turkey right now, grinding, and just trying to make great stories for everyone.
Yeah.
But I know you have Crime Capital coming out soon, man.
Oh, yeah, I got Crime Capital 2 coming out. Yeah, maybe I should show the cover art now. Wait.
Ooh, whoa! You have to, man. Show it for the people. For the people.
All right. Give me a sec, folks. Yeah, because I actually designed it myself. So, I ain't no artist or nothing, but I just took little bits and pieces that I had. And I'm like, no, let me try to do it myself. So let me make sure you guys can actually see right there. Ooh.
Damn. Okay. Tell the people a little bit about it, man.
Yeah, so Crime Capital 2 is the continuation of Crime Capital 1 that was released earlier this year. It gets even more in depth with the characters and the cast and the story. Yeah, and it's a bit even darker, but it's more expansive. And yeah, that's coming out next month sometime. And then I'm also working on a few other surprises coming out this year. B-sides, of course. Number 2 is coming out. True Science Fiction 5. Yes, it's at 5 issues now, if you didn't know out there. And yeah, and then there's 2 other surprises coming out this year, and there's some stuff coming out next year. But yeah, I just like to work in a lot of different genres at once because I don't know, I like to have fun. So that's what I like to do. So be on the lookout for Chris and myself's upcoming work. We're 2 of the most grindingest motherfuckers coming up from the underground right now. And it's my channel, so I can use whatever language I want. So yeah. But yeah, we're just glad you guys are here supporting us. And we're just gonna keep the grind going out there for ourselves and for you out there. So just be sure to support us both. So Chris, let them know your handle or your website and all that good stuff.
Absolutely, you can follow me at The Saturn Effect on Instagram, and it's the same thing for the website, thesaturneffect.com. Yeah, and then there are a bunch of links to all my artist teams on there as well. Francesco, Barack, Marco, Novita, Jacopo, Winston, Reed.
And if they're watching, shout out to them. I love your guys' work. Hey, y'all should work with me too. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got a lot of shit You know, yeah, I'm just putting that out there. You know, I love y'all stuff, man. You know, come talk to your boy. All right, I
definitely.
get you your bread. Okay. All right. Nah, I'm joking. But yeah, you know, you guys know me, coolestdolo.com. You know, follow me there. You know, I'm gonna put some little captions, and then you can just do click and stuff like that. But yeah, this has been another Lanier Presents special. So, you know, thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time. All right, bye.
Yeah. Yeah.